Hello, it's Dina Rich, broker associate with Keller Williams Realty on South Padre Island. In the previous video, we discussed the advantages of being a represented buyer. In this video, we'll take an in-depth look at the buyer representation agreement, hitting some of the highlights. A version that discusses each paragraph in detail is also available. As a former educator, I feel it's important that buyers understand this agreement and know what they're signing. But I promise there will not be a quiz at the end. Paragraph 2 states that you're giving me the right to be your exclusive real estate agent for the market area that we'll define in the next section. If you have any other existing buyer representation agreements, I need to know that. I can't represent a buyer who has an existing agreement with another agent in the same market area. In paragraph 3C, we define our market area, which will be limited to any or all of the 4 local towns. Paragraph 7 discusses agent compensation. Compensation is not set or fixed and is always negotiable. In paragraph 7A, we'll agree on my compensation for the work that I do as your buyer agent. Now you may be saying to yourself, what? I have to pay my buyer agent? I've never had to do that when I purchased a property in the past. I thought the seller always paid both agents. And for many transactions, this will be the case. You may not have to compensate me at all, but you might, and so I want you to be aware of this. Here's how it works. Before panic sets in, let's take a close look at paragraph 7C. It states that I will first seek to be compensated by the seller. If the seller is willing to compensate me for the full amount that you and I have agreed upon, you would not be responsible for compensating me at all. But remember, compensation is always negotiable. Depending on the price and terms of your offer, the seller could reconsider the amount they originally said they would pay the buyer agent. If the seller is willing to compensate me for a lesser amount, you would make up the difference. If the seller isn't willing to compensate me at all, only then would you be responsible for all of the agreed upon amount. Paragraph D states that agents receive compensation only when their client closes on a property. The protection period states that after the expiration of our agreement, if you decide to purchase one of the properties that we visited together, that this agreement would still be in effect for a predetermined number of days. Paragraph 8E makes it known that although I represent you, I do not make decisions for you, nor do I ever sign any document on your behalf. Paragraph 9 discusses different scenarios if you were to purchase one of my listings or a property listed by another agent at Keller Williams, Lower Rio Grande Valley. If you choose no intermediary status, this means that not only can I not show you any of my listings, I can't show you any properties listed by Keller Williams, Lower Rio Grande Valley. We're a sizable organization with multiple branch offices, and that would eliminate a large number of properties from your search. Paragraph 10 states that I may show the same property to other buyer clients. 15 states that the broker is not held responsible for any injuries. For example, if you fall into a swimming pool and ruin your phone, I cannot be held accountable, but I will help you get out of the pool. Other additional notices in paragraph 18 include, as an at-home with diversity agent, I follow fair housing laws. I work with and embrace everyone. I stay in my lane and won't attempt to answer questions that should be addressed by other experts, such as attorneys, inspectors, etc. And although sellers are not supposed to, I always tell buyers to assume that they're being watched on doorbell cameras or security systems. Unless we've asked permission, you should not take photos or videos when visiting properties. Due to new legislation passed in Texas in January of 2026, individuals with ties to countries considered to be a threat to national security are not permitted to purchase property in Texas. I hope that by elaborating on some of the highlights of this document that you'll feel more informed. If you need more information, there's an additional video in the series which goes through this document in its entirety. paragraph by paragraph. The next video in the series will address viewing and making an offer on a property listed by me or by one of the agents in my office.